Welcome, CJ, back to Automate All the Things. We're so excited to have you.
What's up? How's it going, Aaron?
It's good. It's been good. I think you are the second or third person to be on twice, which means a lot. Thank you. You enjoyed your experience. Welcome to
I
appreciate you
did,
coming
yeah.
back.
Thanks. I'm so lucky. I feel yeah, it was a blast last time, so happy to chat again.
Absolutely. So, just gonna we've got Daniel, we've got Colleen in the chat. If this is your first time to automate all things, really welcome. Make sure to drop your questions, hello in the chat. We're gonna spend the next hour learning something new, and we've got CJ here to teach us, kind of that Stripe going no code, if you will. So, maybe CJ kind of talk. We'll start with what is Stripe, maybe for folks who are unfamiliar, and then maybe talk a little bit about the no code options, and then we'll dive into today's use case.
Yeah, so Stripe is we are building economic infrastructure for the internet. That means that we allow and empower businesses around the world to accept payments, but also to like make payouts and generally manage their business online. We have tools for starting your business and running it. With recently, we launched a lot of tools for setting up financial accounts so you can actually store money, or things where you can like issue and send credit cards. And in the early days of Stripe, we had these APIs where you could, make some API requests with a little bit of code to collect credit card payments. That was sort of like the genesis of where Stripe started. And over time, we've built up lots of different tooling so that you can, for instance, build marketplaces like Lyft and Shopify, or you can build recurring payment solutions. Like if you wanted to collect, a monthly payment, we have these billing engines where you can create subscriptions and take those payments. And so we've started building out all of these different tooling that you can use APIs to write some code against. But recently we've also started launching a ton of no code features that allow you to take advantage of a lot of these building blocks without writing any code, or perhaps writing just a tiny bit of code to unlock a lot of power and functionality. And so the first and like most notable version of that is called payment links. And we've talked about that a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a tool we're going to use today, but we're super excited about a lot of different no code surfaces. So we're thinking about and launching a way for you to build a pricing table for your
Mm-hmm.
recurring subscription. So you could have sort of like your tiers of your good, better, best, or, startup and growth and enterprise tiers listed. And it'll just be sort of a really small snippet that you can drop into your website. And that'll enable people to go through the checkout flow and sign up for new subscriptions. Along the same vein, we have a tool called the customer portal. This is a page on Stripe where you can redirect customers and they can sort of manage their billing. So they can, update their card on
Mm.
file and view their invoice history and stuff like that. We're also working on a no code version of that. So if you're interested in either the pricing table thing or the no code customer portal, let us know. We'd love to like work with you and have you try out the beta. Let us know if you have
Yeah.
feedback. We obviously want to like use that to shape the direction of the product. So
Yeah. And I think I do have to say, like, when CJ means, if you want to try it out, and you do, like, definitely do reach out. I think that's how you and I met, right? You're like, hey, you want to give
yes,
payment links a try? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then here you are, I've done, I think, the fourth stream on payment links. And I think what's interesting is that you are bringing a lot of these products to the no code front. And I think what's really interesting is that for me as a streamer, there's an infinite kind of permutations of use cases we could build, right? And so I think today what I'm excited about is this actually came. I think how this stream came together was that someone asked me or you for like their payment details over the phone, and I get very creeped out of like maybe I'm in a
totally.
cafe or just whatever, or maybe that person is like, I don't know who you are. Maybe they're writing it down on a piece of paper. And I
Right.
thought, man, how do we like make it really easy to not give credit card details over the phone? And we kind of went back and forth and just really quickly came up with a use case. So talk me through how we're going to go ahead and replace that really awkward experience with something much better, and how that shows that Stripe is going more and more towards no code.
Yeah, so like for a long time, you have this. It's actually like called MOTO, mail order telephone order, where it's like you want to like send in a form or something through like the snail mail, and then you write your credit card number on the piece
Right.
of paper and like mail it in. So that's like your mail order. Telephone order is like someone over the phone. Maybe you're booking with a travel agent for some flight, or you're
Hmm.
paying for a utility, or you're buying like a BMX bike. I don't know, whatever the case may be. Yeah, if you're on the phone, just reading off of your card, they're like, what's the expiration? And it always felt like a little dirty, right? That
Yeah.
they were like, tell me what those three numbers are on the back. You're like,
You're like, you
oh,
told
like
me
I
not to
don't.
tell anyone, right?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like,
It
this
says it
is
right
written
here. I'm not
everywhere.
supposed to like.
Yeah. And-
Yeah, never share these numbers, right? And so like, what's really cool is that with payment links, a payment link is a persistent way to collect money for a given product or price over and over and over. So
right.
for instance, if you have like a book that you're selling, you can create a payment link that's tied to that book and just share that wherever. It doesn't have to be just on your website. You can send it in Twitter DM. You can send it as a Slack message. You could
Hmm.
just text message somebody. They can open that link on their phone, or they can open it on their computer in their browser, and go through the payment flow, which is much more secure. There's a bunch of nice benefits to that, because now all of our phones and our browsers sort of like have the card details stored
Right.
securely, and so you could just like sort of one click checkout almost.
Right.
And with the launch of Link a few weeks ago, you actually can sort of just one click checkout,
Hmm.
and so it makes it much more secure and also more seamless for the
Yeah.
customer. So yeah, I think today we're gonna like create some payment links and then send them via text, right? And just like show how we might build this.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Cool.
sense a hesitation in your voice, and you were supposed to teach me. So I'm excited to jump in here. But so I'd love to know before we jump in. So we've got Penny, we've got Daniel in the chat. Let us know if this use case is like interesting to you. I'd love to know how you think about. Do you take credit cards via phone, or do the businesses you consult do? Um, yeah, I agree with you, Daniel. The fact that we still give out credit cards over the phone is very it's not 2022. That's for sure. So let's kind of jump in here and let me move some stuff out of the way. There we go. This should look good. Okay. So, yeah, let me know, CJ, if you can see my screen, and chat, give me a thumbs up if you can see it as well when you get to it. Um
Yeah.
so we're using Airtable as like our starting point, right? But I obviously I work for Airtable, but I actually in this stream like the starting point is kind of mute in that think of this like the system. So walk me through first, maybe CJ, like what is our end goal
Mhm.
here, and then we'll back from that to different steps that we need to take.
Yeah, so I think the end goal is that our customer who we're talking to over the phone receives a text message with a link. They can click on the link, pay, and then we inside of our database, we can know that they paid for something.
Right.
So in this case, inside of our Airtable base, where we'll know like, okay, they actually bought from us.
Okay. So we want to send the payment link via text. So we want to do
Yep.
that from our CRM. In our case, that's Airtable. Then we want to so obviously we need a way to get that payment, and then we want to track whether that person we're speaking to paid, right? So the kind of use
Yep.
case we're imagining here, and so Penny, this is a perfect example where you use the phone instead of having people send you credit card details over email. Well, now you can just respond with a payment link in that email via
Mhm.
text, whatever. So that'll be a perfect example of removing that step of taking over the phone. But here we're going to imagine that we are on the phone with the person, and we could play it
Yeah.
out in a moment. So how what is the first step here? So what I started with was just I have my customers, right? So email,
Mhm.
phone number, and name. And I have a few
Mhm.
products that I sell. Let's say I sell a bike, a helmet, and bike insurance, right? Those are the three
Cool.
products that I sell. And then I have conversations. Right now, that's an empty table, and I'm imagining that
Mhm.
like I got a call from CJ, and I'd be like, okay, CJ is calling me, and then CJ wants a helmet, and I'm like, helmet, and then I'm
Mhm.
like, CJ's like, I want to pay you right now, and I'm like, okay,
Yep.
check. CJ gets a text message, hey, fill this out, and then I'm like, when CJ pays, I go into the payments, and I receive the payment, and I'm like, good, CJ, your bike's on the way.
Yep. Super cool. So I think the very first thing we want to do is actually jump into Stripe,
Okay.
and we will create, if you haven't already created the product, I mean, I think it makes sense to create products inside of Stripe that mirror
Right.
the products that you have in your base.
Okay. So essentially, we're saying products, prices. I remember this from the last stream. So prices are the
Yeah.
fundamental building block. A product can have multiple prices. We'll have one price per product. And we're saying, let's create a product for each one of these. And then we can create
Hmm.
payment links that match to those products to say this payment link is for this quantity of this product. And so we'll have a one-to-one relationship between all of those. So every product will have a payment link. Every product will have one price, right? Am I saying that
Hmm.
right? Is my Stripe
Yep, that's
terminology
right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So let's make a bike.
Okay, so bike description.
Bike.
It's a bike. Like what else do we need? Right?
Fancy bike.
It's a fancy bike. Yeah, it's 400 bucks. It's a fancy bike. So this would be goods. Does it really matter, I guess? Goods.
Right. So this is gonna
Tangible
that
goods.
this unlocks the ability to automatically calculate tax based on sort of
Mm.
where the customer is, and so that's super handy too.
I wonder, let me know in the chat and if people are watching back, like, should we do a whole thing on tax? I know there's a few Europeans talking about GDPR, which tax seems like a bigger deal there in a sense. So, especially on digital goods, sorry, I didn't mean like tax in general. So yeah, let me know in the chat if we should do like a proper stream. And since CJ is on the stream, he'll have to say yes, and we'll do that in the future. Uh,
Yeah, happy to chat about tax stuff.
so this is $400. It's a one-time, standard pricing.
Yep.
We're not doing anything really fancy. We're not going to include tax, but Daniel's saying we should do a whole session on tax. So let's do that. Do we need to set anything else up here?
That should be good for now. We could, if we had a picture of the product of the bike, of this beautiful bike that someone is going to receive, we could put that photo in. But oh yeah, okay, go ahead. Let's grab a. Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it hurts me that bike gets these. Yeah, this is my type of bike.
Okay,
this
there
is
we
my
go.
type right there. None of these,
Are you doing a lot of biking now in New York?
No, I'm not.
No.
It's actually, I live right next to Prospect Park. So I do like laps around the loop there.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it takes like an hour to get out of the city. So my biking has gone off a cliff.
Okay.
There are
Bummer.
advantages to New York. That is not one of them.
Got it.
Okay, so save the product. Got a nice little
Okay.
bike. Amazing. Okay, and then now I have a product.
Mhm.
Do we want to create all three products, or do we want to create the payment link associated to this product right away?
Maybe I wonder if we should just save creating the other products till the end, and like
Sure.
we can just start with just this one for now.
Absolutely. Good idea.
Cool. So there should be a button there that says create payment link right by the price.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Okay, we don't want customers. We're assuming that people are not going to buy like multi bikes, but we could let people adjust the quantity, but let's keep it there. We're not
Okay.
collecting tax. I don't want to collect customers' addresses again, just to keep this simple, right? But
Okay.
you could imagine that we're going to pipe that back in.
Mhm.
But for now, we want to require a phone number?
Well, I think we already have the phone number in most cases because we're going to be text messaging them
Right. Okay.
with the link. So
Promo codes, maybe we do promo
sure.
codes. Let's give it a
Yeah.
try. Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Anything else that we need to confirmation page? That's fine. Yeah, I think this is pretty much good.
Yep. That's great. So we don't want to
split.
split. So, yeah, like if you wanted to, theoretically, if you're like buying these bikes wholesale and you want to just give someone a cut, you
Mhm.
could use Stripe Connect. Okay,
Right.
sweet. So we've got a
Okay.
bike. We've got the payment link for the bike. All right.
So this is a hosted, if this works, right? So this is
Mhm.
done. Like we now
Yep.
have a checkout page that's hosted on Stripe. So they're just on the tax thing, CJ, people are asking, so we'll have to do a whole session on tax for no coders.
Yep. We totally could.
Awesome. I'll schedule in at the end, just want to make sure I grab
Okay.
you while
Yeah.
you're here.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we've got our payment link. Now we can take payments, and that's kind of like just the infrastructure. Like we could do the same thing for helmets and bikes.
Right.
So now I'm imagining that you're calling me, and our goal is for me. You're like, I want this bike,
Hmm.
and for whatever reason, you decided that the phone is the way you want to communicate that to me.
Hmm.
So I created this conversations table. So what do I need in this table to be like, hey, I'm going to send you a text message with the URL instead of taking your details. So like, what is this information?
So so like we want to include some reference back to the conversation so that we can tie back and mark something as paid.
Okay,
And so I think we can probably use the record ID. I guess, yeah, the conversation should have reference to the customer and it should probably have
right.
reference to the product they want to buy.
Okay, so the
Um,
first step here is let's say, okay, what customer are we speaking to? Right. So I'm going to do
mhm.
this as like linked to another record.
Okay.
Right. So I'm linking back to customers, and every conversation. I know it's a little theoretical, so let's delete these and let's imagine, CJ is the person I'm speaking. So the first thing I want
Hmm.
to do is be like, okay, I am speaking to CJ, right? And if CJ is
Yep.
not there, I can just add their information here.
Hmm.
And then CJ, you're going to be like, I want this bike. I want this bike at
Yep.
all costs. I'm so willing to get this bike that I'm calling you for some odd reason.
Yes.
So I'm going to link back to product, right?
Okay.
Products. We're not, for now, I just want to do one product per payment link. And we could chat at the end if there's interest around like what happens if you want to sell two products on the same payment, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Um, yeah, Robert, this actually is perfect of like the conversation between where we had client billing. So Robert mentions that this dovetails nicely with the client billing. It's a perfect example. If your client is like, oh, can I just give you a credit card? Right.
Hmm.
And if your infrastructure was built with the stream that I did with Joe Krug, this is just like a little checkbox that you add, and now you're just texting them that way of never having to get your credit card again. So this actually goes perfectly with that stream. Okay, so I've got the product, I've got the customer. Now, I'm just thinking of that text message, right? That text
Hmm.
message, we need like a phone number, we need the payment. Like maybe we build the automation and then build out the table
Sure.
as
Yeah,
we're
we can do
building
that.
the automation. Okay. So let's
Yeah.
just do a checkbox, right? So let's
Cool.
do send text message,
Okay.
right? Boom. So
So help like in terms of design, right? I'm curious why we would pick a checkbox and not a button. Can you talk me through like why you would choose one versus the other? Like maybe I missed
um
this stream, but
um Airtable limitations is purely okay.
okay.
So
Okay.
let's okay. I promise everyone, we're gonna build it with a checkbox to start, but at the end we will switch it for a button, and I'll show you how. But you have to watch till the end.
Okay.
There's a way. It just requires a little bit of finicky. But you cannot start an automation from a button today. But I have a solution for everyone. Okay. So what we want this automation to do, right? We want to send a payment link,
Hmm.
right? So when record matches condition, right? So essentially, we're saying, okay, like when the checkbox is checked, right? So
Hmm.
go to our conversations table when checkbox or send payment text message is checked,
Hmm.
right? Let's choose that CJ record we just pulled in. Um, and then what we want to do is to send a Twilio message, right?
Okay.
So far makes sense, right?
Yep.
Okay, I already got my Twilio account connected. Okay, the body of the message, we want to say, submit. So please fill out your payment details. Okay, and here I want the payment link, right? Now, currently, if I go to my record, that's not there. So
Okay.
we need to go. So where are our payment links? Our payment links are in products right
Yep.
here. So we want to look up that field from our product. So we're going to add a lookup
Okay.
field. So it's going to be payment link.
Got it. So you sort of derive. Okay, cool.
How close is this to like a standard relational database? It must be like this feels pretty like
So yeah, I mean, if you're using views, which I haven't used a ton of
mm,
in the last like decade, but using views, you end up with something like this. Because
right,
oftentimes I'm using an ORM or like an object relational mapper between my code and the database.
right.
And so like that thing doesn't usually work very nicely with views, but way back in the day when I was manually building the database
Yeah,
from scratch, like I would build views just like this. So
right.
yeah, it's super familiar.
Um, awesome. So we want to now if we run this again, right? I gotta test again. How do I test again? Do I have to test choose record? I think it'll get it again. Yeah, there we go. So if we go into field values, we have payment link,
Cool.
and then we have that payment here. So let's try to
Okay.
pull it in.
Okay.
Okay, bam. Go to product. Actually, no. Okay, yeah, I was right. You need to have a lookup field. Continue.
Cool.
And then value, we can insert that. There we go.
Okay.
2.
So,
Yeah,
well,
go
the
ahead.
other thing that we need to think about is like, in order for us to tie back a specific payment back to this one conversation,
Mm,
want to add a query string value to
right,
the end of that payment link. So by default, you can just like go to the payment link. Anyone can go to it. Anyone can pay.
right.
But for us to know like which conversation it's tied to, we want to say we want to add a client reference ID to the query string, and that would be like the record ID, I think.
Okay, so you're essentially saying let's add a record ID to the end of this URL.
Yeah.
Okay, so in order to do that, let's create a formula field. So it's going to be payment link with query string.
Okay.
Ugh, that's a terrible, terrible formula.
Well, can we just use the other? Can we use the other one, or do we have to like pull in the payment link and then also make a derived field?
I think we could do it here,
Okay.
right? But then I still need a. Oh, actually, no, I could. So how would I structure? Okay, talk me through what would that
Mhm.
URL structure be? Is it just question mark?
Yep. Question
Um,
mark, and then it's like client underscore reference underscore ID equals.
and then the record ID of
Yep.
this. Okay,
Yep.
let's see that. I'm curious to see whether the URL, because it's a URL coming from Airtable, and then is it just going to assume that that is the URL? Let's give it a try.
Yep.
So just for folks kind of imagining this, we want to pass client reference ID as this so that when we receive the payment, we can be like, oh, okay, we know what conversation this is tied to via the record ID, which is like the unique identifier of this record, right? So
Yep.
if I go record ID right here, I'm going to be able to say go to the conversations table and find the record ID of that payment. Okay, so 2, same thing here. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know in the chat if that was understood, and if not, happy to spend a little more time here. So phone number is currently in the customers table, so we're just going to do a lookup again.
Cool.
Customer and then phone number field, boom. So we got to do that. Is there anything else we? No, that's the only thing we need. So let me go back full screen. Let me do that. Just get that text. Da-da-da. Phone number, continue. I'm going to insert the value from.
Nice.
I have this somewhere. Let me just pull up my clipboard. This is my phone number. Okay, it's here. Oh, it
Cool.
pasted right from my. Okay, so that is my Twilio phone number.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So before I don't want to test it because I don't know whose phone number this is, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let me see if I can do this. Let me hide my. I'm gonna put my own phone number.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the. I trust all of you on live on the
Behind the
stream. I
scenes.
don't watch people. I don't trust the people watching this later. Um.
Oh.
Okay. Let me just boom.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my phone number is like somewhere on the internet because I get all kinds of interesting spam on both
Oh.
text and like WhatsApp.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, yeah. which is, I mean, whatever. Like, I think as people who are making content online, and if you happen to leak something on accident, then that's a price we pay.
Yeah, exactly. To live our amazing lives. Okay, I just want to show people that
I know. Yeah, it's
it
like
worked.
fun.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so I can't quite show you guys because this is like a text message, but I can guarantee you that this says, hey, fill out your payment details. So let me just go ahead and show you my screen again. So the text messages will always come to me, but
Okay.
you can still switch it the way we just did, right? With a dynamic value. So
Okay.
let's turn this on.
Okay.
I don't think we need anything else, right? Do we need
Right.
to do
So
anything
now, like,
else?
I'm curious too. Like the text that you got, is the query string attached to the URL, or
Yes, it
does it end up?
is. It
Okay,
is.
great. Okay,
So
cool.
let me just show people. You can see that the blue goes all the way to the end.
Yeah, and it has the client reference ID there.
Yeah. So let me actually try to copy paste this.
Okay.
Copy link. And I think if all went well, my iPhone should be able to. Yeah, it does. Okay, great. So if I go here, that's actually copying from the text message. So we have
Sweet.
by test client reference ID. So do you want me to like fill it out maybe so we can do the next step of like bringing the payment back in?
So let's fill it out after we set up the webhook handler so that we can or I mean, yeah, I mean we can fill it out both times, but
Okay.
yeah.
And there's a question from Daniel. I think this is actually a good moment of like, what if we wanted to create a promo code? Right. So let's fill it out and then
Hmm.
we'll do a quick promo code. And then, I'll just show people the difference. So I am Aron at example.com. Now, if you are new to Stripe, 4242, 2020, 23, 123, Jeff, doesn't really matter. I'm in the United States. I am 110. Okay, let's pay that.
Okay. Yeah, so coming back to the question around the promo code, you can either sort of tell the person a promo code over the phone, or there is an option with the payment link, the same way that we just pre-filled the client reference ID, you can pre-fill a promo code. So it will like show, oh, it was originally 400, but you got,
Got it.
10% off or whatever, and it'll show the discount right here on this page using the pre-filled promo code. So
Okay. So two things we have to show if we have time today. One
yeah,
is the button, and then two is the pre-filled promo code.
sounds good.
So question from Colleen, I think, any security issues with using Airtable ID as a ref? I don't think so. I don't know about you, CJ. Is that is just a jumble of numbers that only mean something in the context of your base.
Hmm.
And there's really, even if I knew your table and your app ID, there's really nothing I could do with the record ID. So I actually think it's much more secure than something like a name or an email, primarily because it helps me track back that conversation in like the most accurate way, in a way that an email or a name wouldn't. So even if you
Hmm.
were like, hey, someone else pay and they enter different details, I don't really care. What I
Hmm.
care is that that payment link is associated to this conversation.
Hmm.
So even if you were to fill out with different details, I'll still be able to map it back. So I do think not only is it the most secure way, I also think it's the most efficient way because you have a unique identifier for that payment. So any thoughts on that, CJ?
Yeah, I think there's one tiny crux to this where like if a malicious user had the Airtable ID and they knew how to construct their own webhook payload, and they knew like exactly where to send that webhook,
Okay.
then they could theoretically like they could send a post request directly to Airtable with like their own client reference ID saying, I bought the bike, send me the bike.
Right.
I think if I recall correctly, the webhook URLs for Airtable are not something you can guess.
No.
So there's a little bit of security through obscurity there, but there's
Right.
also like if you wanted to get really granular, you
Yeah.
could say when I receive the webhook, use my secret API key to refetch the event to confirm that it
Right.
did come from Stripe and not some malicious user. So
Got it.
there's ways around it, but like at the end of the day, um, when you're building out a system at this level, like I think this is going to be
Yeah.
fantastic.
I think the
So
bar of like you're not taking credit card over the phone is just so this is so much better, right? That there even
yeah,
if there is a few secure, they're like paled in comparison to like saying your credit card details loudly in whatever space and having someone write them out.
right, yeah.
But it's a great question, Colleen. If folks have any other questions, happy to bring them up. So now that we like this is done, right? So if someone else just says like, okay, like new customer, new product, send text message, it's done, right?
Hmm.
So the next step here is how do we bring back the payments so that
Hmm.
I can say, okay, this person like have a status field, right? That says like
Yep,
paid.
yep.
How should I think about that?
Yeah. So anytime, obviously, like the payment is actually happening over on Stripe, right? It's on
Mm-hmm.
Stripe's page. And so anytime any events happen or like things happen inside of your Stripe account, um, there is an event that's emitted or there's an event that's fired. And we have the opportunity to listen for those events and then build automations around those things happening.
Right.
And so when we talk about webhooks, we're talking about a way to programmatically connect a listener to Stripe. So when an event happens on your Stripe account, we can sort of call that URL up and say, "Hey, something happened on your Stripe account. Here are all the details."
Got it.
For this specific use case, what we want to do is we want to listen for the checkout session completed event. And when that happens, we will update the statuses and mark things as paid. And then maybe we'll automate later down the road, like, oh, let's pull the bike from inventory and like print
Right.
a shipping label and things like that.
Right.
So,
So how do
um,
I okay, it sounds like there are two things to do here. And if you ever
mhm,
wonder where my analogy phone numbers to webhooks come from, is actually comes from CJ. So um we want to create a phone number at Airtable that Stripe can call and be like, hey, something happened. So it seems like A, we need a phone number at Stripe, and then maybe B, and maybe we'll do it first, is like we need to tell Stripe to call that phone number. Right. So how do I tell Stripe to say, okay, when that session completed, go ahead and call
mhm.
Airtable?
Yeah. So inside of the developers tab here, we can go to webhooks on the left. And this is where we want to enter a URL where
Mm,
Stripe will notify and tell like something happened on your account. And so we're going to create a new webhook endpoint, and we need to enter in a URL that's going to be called on the Airtable side. So we're
right.
going to create this webhook listener on the Airtable side.
So I'm going to call this new payment, right?
Okay,
My trigger is going to be when webhook received, right? So when I get that phone call, and then Airtable is going to generate a URL that Stripe can
great.
use. So now it's in there.
Okay, yep.
And then,
So
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so like at this point, we have the opportunity to specify which events we care about. And so we want to pick the checkout session completed events and the checkout async payment succeeded event.
So we want both or just
Now,
one?
let's do both. And here's why. So, like by default, checkout session completed is going to fire anytime someone finishes that form.
Okay.
But if, for instance, we want to enable someone to pay with an ACH like bank transfer,
Okay.
or if we want them to be able to pay the OXXO in Mexico or Boleto in Brazil,
Right.
then we can do all of that just by enabling payment methods in the Stripe dashboard. But some of those payment method types are asynchronous. So like
Right.
a bank transfer might take several days to actually land.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we listen to both of these event types, then we can automate and say like, okay, if we get checkout session completed, we can check is it paid. If we get checkout session async payment succeeded, we definitely know it's paid. So it's kind of just like
Yeah.
two different notifications that will like unlock
Right.
supporting several different payment method
So this
types.
is going to break Airtable, but let's keep going. I'm curious. I know is because
Okay.
I think Airtable assumes the same structure for every webhook. And I'm going to assume that like this always happens before this, right? You complete the session and then receive the payment.
So if that's the case, if we want to only support cards for now, we can just leave off async payment succeeded. But yeah, in practice, like you probably want to also let
I
people
think you
buy
can
or
do
buy to
both,
ACH.
right? So what I would recommend folks watching this in the future, and we could do it at the end, is actually have one webhook for session completed and then another webhook for async payment succeeded, because the Airtable assumes
Okay.
like the same webhook structure. And so if you have different structures of webhooks, you should have different automations. And then that way you can be like, okay, this in this session, I can see that the person is trying to pay via ACH, and I should
Hmm.
watch for that second webhook and only consider it completed when there are two linked records, when there's the session completed and the payment succeeded. But we have 20 minutes here. So let's start with the
Yeah.
session
Yeah.
completed. And then
Sure.
if we have time, we'll do the async. But the recommendation
Cool.
here is always have, for Airtable specifically, always have different webhook triggers for different, different automations for different events that you're tracking in Stripe.
Okay. Cool.
Anything else that we need? No, I think that's it. So just the completed.
Yep. That's it for now. Yeah.
Add endpoint, good to go.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so waiting for events. So let's go ahead and go back here.
Yep.
And then does this still have the record URL? I don't know. Let me just see if I can copy paste here. Have we changed? Yeah, let me go get my text message.
Okay.
I'm going to copy here. No, I don't want to open
Do we have
link.
to do anything on the Airtable side to like actually wire up the
I would
like
do a
record
test,
finder and stuff?
right? So I think we
Okay.
want to get a
Okay. Sure.
test and then wire those two
Cool.
things together.
Sounds
So
good.
let me go here. There we go. So, okay. Boom, payment link. Let's pay it. So I'm gonna put the same email, so we're like, doesn't this actually won't change anything, right?
Okay.
Because we're not using the email, but I just want to, if folks do want to use an email, 23
Yep.
123 name on card is
You can also check that box down below, right? That's like for link, right? Yeah. So that will make it, well, I guess never mind. You'd have to put well, in test mode, you can put whatever number you want actually.
Oh, it won't
Um,
check. Okay.
yeah. So maybe 800-8675-309.
Is that your phone
Cool.
number? Or is
No,
that
it's
just this?
the Jenny, or it's from that song, 8675309. Come on. No, no. All
Does
right.
anyone in the
Okay.
chat know what the hell CJ is talking about right now?
Please, oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, especially yeah, I'm probably showing my age here, but if you yeah, Google 8675309.
86785 309.
86 Okay, look at it. See, people know what I'm talking about.
Jeremy, you've got what?
Yeah,
Eight
it's
Jenny 5309. Oh, it's
yeah,
a song.
it's a song. Yeah, it's from a song. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe this is. I mean, yeah.
There's so many reasons why I don't know what this is. It's an age thing. I think it's a regionality thing. But you've got supporters in the chat, CJ. I'm the one who
Yes.
doesn't
All
know.
right.
Okay, Penny
Yeah.
also knows,
Right.
so I'm clearly in the minority here.
Sure.
Um,
So, but by putting that phone number there and saying you want to link your account, now we don't have to enter 4242 every time. You can just
oh,
put
okay, I
that
can
email
just put
address.
okay. So if I put my
Yeah.
phone number, okay, so let's pay.
Yeah. Definitely a good idea to use link. So.
I have never heard that song, Jeremy. I can absolutely assure you.
Yeah. After this, you've got some homework, Aaron.
So here we should have an event, right?
Yep.
A checkout session was completed. That was just now,
Sweet.
right? And then this is the webhook, like the information that was in the conversation between Stripe and Airtable. Like we've got the
Yep.
email, the name. So what we want to go, do we have client reference ID? I think that's the big.
We should. Yeah. That's the key.
Client reference ID. Okay, perfect. Right here.
Bingo.
Right. Okay. So
Great.
let's kind of make sure that Airtable understood the conversation, so let's test the trigger. Okay, we do have one. And then we have this. Okay, so I'm going into the webhook, into the body, going into data object. and then client reference ID.
Bingo.
So I think there are two things we want to do here. First, we want to say like, okay, here's like the payment information that we got, right? So let's say we just put their email, right? Just so we have like not just the reference ID, right? So we're going to put email here, created time, payment moment, I guess. And this will be a created time. We'll, do it automatically. And I think that's like amount, maybe, right? If there's coupons.
Okay. Yep.
It's gonna be a currency field. And then let's just link to conversation.
Great.
So I think that feels enough, right?
Sure. It's a great start.
Okay, this is gonna be interesting. Okay, let's delete all these. Right.
So one other thing that you might want to keep track of is the payment intent ID. And the reason is that enables you to do things like refunding and
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Single line text.
So, yeah.
Okay. Just so we're doing this quickly. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So the first thing I think we want to do is to create a record.
Okay.
Actually, let's find a record first. Let's find the conversation that this relates to using the client reference ID.
Great.
So I want to go into conversations.
Yep.
And then I want to search on condition. But you'll notice that it only gives me like values, explicit fields in. So I need to actually go ahead and create a new field in conversation, which is the record ID.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So this is a little pro tip. So you can just go record ID.
Huh.
And it's going to explicitly be like, okay, that is one of the values that is automatically calculated. And if I come back here, I have record ID is, and then we're going to go into dynamic from step 1. Let me know if this is large enough, folks.
Looks good.
Go into body, go into data, sorry. Object.
Yep.
And I want client reference ID.
Yep.
Right. So what we're hoping is that it finds that conversation, right? This one right here. So CJ is buying a bike. Now that we know which record we want to associate to, let's go ahead and create a record.
Okay.
In payments. And then we just fill out the fields, right? So the email, that comes from the webhook, right?
Sure. Yep.
Body.
It's like customer data or something, customer details.
Actually, instead of email, do we want to tie it to the customer? No, we don't. We don't want to tie it to, because the customer, it could be anyone. It could be like your friend filling out. You might be your, the children, like whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
And it's already linked to the conversation, which has a reference to the customer.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Exactly. So go into data, object, and then customer.
Is there a
email.
customer detail? Yeah, there we go. Cool.
Email. Then amount. You want to make this dynamic. This is like the configuration part of the string. So where would I find the amount in the Stripe webhook? Data.
So like an amount total. I think that might be a good one to drop in there.
Okay, this looks to be in pennies, so we'll have to change that.
Yes.
Okay, link to payment intent ID. Right.
Yep.
So body, data, object. And is that just payment intent ID? Payment intent.
It should be, payment intent. There you go.
Okay, and the last but not least, link to conversation. Here,
okay,
I want to go to that one we just found and insert the record ID.
Cool.
I think that should work. Work. So let's run the test. Okay. Let's go here. And it linked. We can see that it worked, right? So I just want to, so we see here, we're linking to conversation. This is the conversation we just had. Now something's really annoying me before we can do a little bit of confetti here. So let's just fix the rest of the stuff. So, so the name, we're going to have a formula here that says conversation with, I just want to make it like a better primary field.
Okay.
And we're going to have and a little space and customer.
Okay.
Right. So conversation with CJ. That way we can see that it linked to the right record. And then the amount is incorrect. Right. So this should be a number field.
Okay.
And then we want to be, payment amount. It's going to be a formula field. It's going to be amount divided by 100, formatted as a currency.
Nice. Okay. Boom. Great.
Okay. Do we want to do the whole flow? Okay, Danielle has a great question. I'm a bit lost with the run action part. Where would we achieve with this? Okay. So talk to me. Do you want to walk through it? CJ, maybe like your...
Yeah, so there's two pieces. The first piece is we want to send the text message with the payment link. And the second piece is when someone finishes paying, we want to get the notification from Stripe that says they paid. And then we're going to take all that data and put that in the base also.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like two pieces of this.
Yeah.
So the price in the payment table showed 40,000.
Yeah, I think we're good. I had
okay, cool.
an amount in 40. So actually, this actually edit. We should have a field description. So price paid in pennies. This comes from Stripe. Huh? Penny. Huh?
Yeah.
Me plotting my own joke.
Hopefully Daniel did that. Yeah. Also, like, curious if that answered Daniel's question, like what we're trying to achieve with the action parts.
Yeah. So exactly, one automation to send the payment link via text message, and then the other is notifying. And I think let's make this a little clearer. Let's give a status field. I'm going to do a formula field. I'm going to check whether there's a link to a conversation, right? Okay. If there's no link to that conversation, let me remove that little. Yep. Colina was just almost there about hiding the dog before you mentioned it, but always. Okay. So the idea here is that if link to conversation equal empty, that's probably not the best way of writing this. I would probably do like a count field that checks the number of conversations, but whatever. So it's not paid. So if it is empty, we're saying not paid yet. And then otherwise, we're saying it's paid. Hopefully this works. Right? We're saying it's paid. So let's do the whole flow just to give people like a whole... Actually, this should not be here. I made a mistake here. This should be in the conversations.
Okay.
Right? Because that's what I expect people to look at, right?
Sure. Yep.
If payments, I think that's what we called it, the linked record. Yeah, payments is equal to empty, then not paid, and then otherwise it's paid.
Cool.
Okay, let's create that field. Boom, this one's paid, right? Yeah, that Daniel is a great summary. We are trying to match the payment sent via SMS with the webhook we're receiving from Stripe to say like, okay, I got your payment. You're good to go. You got the bike. That is exactly right.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so let's do the whole flow.
Okay.
So, I'm on the. Do you want to act it out? Do you want to be the customer? And who do you want to be?
I'm going to be the customer.
Okay.
Aron's
hello.
Bike.
Yeah, hello. This is Aron. How can I help you today?
I would love a bicycle.
Yeah. Okay, let's start. What is your name? Who are you, sir?
My name is CJ2.
CJ2? How convenient with my database.
Yeah.
Thank you for not messing up my primary field. I'm going to assume your phone number is the same phone number as CJ1, which is great. Yes, what is your email, sir?
The email is cj@example.com.
Okay, you are messing up. I will call you CJ2 because that does mess up my database a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. And okay, so we're having a conversation here, sir.
Yes.
And what product would you like?
I would like the bike.
Good. We only have one bike, so this is great. Um, so sir, you shall receive a text message here. I don't know why we got so formal.
Okay.
Um,
You're great at customer service, Aaron. I love this.
okay. So CJ Sir 2, I should say, is your last name. You
Oh
shall
yeah.
receive a text message here.
Okay.
Because I don't take credit cards over the phone.
Oh,
All
nice.
right.
Very nice. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let's turn this automation on actually.
So
Um, so here we go. I just proving to everyone, I don't know if that I just received a text message.
okay.
So I'm
So
gonna copy.
yeah.
Now sir, I will pay for you.
Okay. No, theoretically, I'm opening this on my phone,
Yeah,
right?
right. I'm okay. So see, you've
Oh
entered
yeah.
your email. I'm mind reading right now.
Yes. Okay.
Um, I is in a
Yeah.
pretty checkout page, sir. Aren't you impressed?
It is a very nice page. I do like how it's all branded
Uh,
to the automate all the things branding.
yeah,
So
it's weird that a thing called Automate All Things sells bikes, but we are far beyond the real life example here. Okay, so sir, I assume you're happy to pay this. So let's go ahead and click pay.
yeah.
Amazing. Now
I
we're
mean,
just
I
gonna
clicked it. Yeah.
yeah, you click. Thank you. We're just gonna take a moment here as we receive the payment. So let's
Okay.
go into. I'm just checking our back end here, making sure everything works correctly. There we go. And then payments. We've just received your payments, sir.
Nice.
And you are marked as paid. Thank you so much for shopping at Automate All the Things, which is also a bike store.
I cannot wait to go for a ride. I am excited. Yes.
Um,
Oh, confetti. That's great. I
absolutely.
love this.
Absolutely. We did it. We did it. We just sold a
Cool.
bike. No CC information was shared. Very impressive. Um,
Yes.
yes. So 45 minutes of work, really. And I think it's really cool that we were able to kind of close the loop. So you can see how as a rep, that was actually relatively easy. The hardest part was acting. Um,
Yeah.
so okay, we've got 5 minutes here, CJ. I think let's try to spend maybe a minute on each one. Just talk us through the limitations here that people should be aware of in this system.
Yeah. So right now, obviously each payment link is tied to a single product.
Mm-hmm.
If we wanted to, we could go in the Stripe dashboard and create combinations of different products
Yeah.
for each payment link. A payment link can support many different products. So you would just need to keep track of sort of which payment links go with which bundles of products.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that you could do is use Airtable scripting
Right.
to create a payment link on the fly
Mm-hmm.
with a custom amount,
Right.
and then use that new payment link as what you send. So for instance, like when we were talking earlier about the example, my personal example from the last couple of months was I was paying a utility bill. And
Right.
so here in New England, we have oil heat. And so you have to like order oil to be delivered to your house. So I was ordering some oil, and like obviously the price of gas and the price of oil or whatever is going to like fluctuate. And so it's a little bit harder to peg that to a specific like fixed price. Like a bike is going to be $400 today and
Right.
$400 in a month from now, but oil is going to be a different price all the time. And so in that case where you would need to send a custom amount,
Mm-hmm.
maybe in your Airtable base, you would say like, okay, how much is the person on the phone going to pay? So that when you check the box, it could use some scripting to make an API call to Stripe to create
Right.
the payment link with, or create a price on the fly and then use that price with the new payment link. Then that would be the payment link that you would send. So that's another sort of limitation, is like we're locked into those specific prices.
Right.
Let's see. I think like, yeah, the other thing that you might want to watch out for is like, because these payment links are reusable, it is possible that maybe someone got a payment link for a bike and then they went back and ordered the same bike again.
Right.
And so we would end up showing like several payments in our payments table. That would be
Mm-hmm.
good. We would have a way to sort of track back, oh, they actually paid twice.
Right.
But I can't remember in the conversations table, did we have a way to look and see like, Oh, they made several payments based on this one conversation.
Yeah, let's actually just quickly do
Okay,
that. And
cool.
I will spend just 30 seconds at the end about the things we promised. So you could have a thing that checks whether there are multiple payments, right? And
Okay.
then you could be like, okay, if this ever equals 2, send a notification to Slack to say someone overpaid, and just reach out to that customer. So with the minute we have left, we're speed rounding this. So
Yes.
there was a
All
question
right.
around coupons, right? So
Yep.
I'm sure that there's a way to enable coupons, right? So I think in payment links, I don't remember where it was.
Yeah, if you go to products at the top
Right.
and then go to coupons on the left,
There you go. Okay, you
and
can
then
create coupons and you could pre-fill coupons. So I'll just drop that in the chat.
yeah.
So it's just a URL parameter. Whoops. Right. Ah.
Yeah, so
Here we go. So here there should be a way to pre-fill on.
Yep.
Is there pre-fill?
Yeah, here I'll drop a link in the chat. I've got
Yeah,
the
here we go.
pre-filling
Reference
yeah, you can
ID,
pre-fill
promo
the
code. You
email, the
pre-filled promo code.
yeah, and the
Awesome.
client reference ID.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the last 10 seconds, if you do want to ever make this into a button, you first need to run a script that sends a webhook to Airtable that triggers the automation. So yes, you can send text message, but you need to write a very short script that sends a webhook to Airtable that triggers the automation that sends the text message. So that is the pro tip of the day.
Got it. Interesting. Okay.
Okay. That's it for today. Thanks everyone for joining. CJ, any parting words?
No, thanks a ton for watching. If you have questions too about your Stripe integration, always happy to chat. I'm on Twitter at cjav_dev. And yeah, always happy to help.
Absolutely. Well, CJ, huge thanks for coming. Everyone, Daniel, Penny, Colleen, Jeremy, everyone in the chat, landing feedback. Really appreciate all of you coming out. I hope to see you next week. With that, have a great week, everyone. Bye, CJ.
Bye, friends. Thanks, Aaron.